I love that.
I don't know if this will be useful advice for others, but this is how it happened for me. I got into a relationship with someone who was very emotionally abusive. He had not yet become physically abusive. There were definitely signs that he was on the way towards that. And it was remarkable to me looking back at it that I ended up in that situation, because we do have this assumption like, oh, I'm smarter than that, I won't end up in that situation. It can happen to anybody, any background, any education, any amount of money. Like, it's very easy, especially I think as women, that we devalue ourselves enough that we feel like any amount of attention, any amount of supposed love has to be fought for. And, you know, he would tell me things like, you're so lucky you have me because nobody else is ever going to want you. Why did I believe that? I don't know. There isn't anything obviously like that wrong with me. How did he make me believe that nobody else was going to love me when I'm just like a pretty average, regular person? But he did. And these are the mind games that abusers do, because they want to have that control and they want to make sure that you're not going to leave them. They know that they're not going to keep you by their winning personality. So they're going to keep you some other way. So I'm deep in that when we hadn't been getting to spend much time together. I was working. He did not have a job. I was working answering customer service calls for freecreditreport.com, which was horrible. Awful experience, because every single one of those customers felt like they had been tricked and were being robbed. So a lot of screaming. So I'm like, what can we do to like spend some quality time together? The new Star Trek movie is coming out. What a great fit. It's a guy kind of movie, and I'm a huge nerd. Perfect. Okay, we'll go to this movie together. So I bring it up to him and he's like, okay, we make this plan. I don't care for popcorn. I'm a sweets person. So I'm like gathering coins to be able to buy candy when we get there. And he took that as like a personal affront. So like he wouldn't let me get near the counter at the movie theater, and he got popcorn and sort of like elbowed me out of the way so I couldn't get candy, and then told me if I didn't eat the popcorn, he was going to be furious with me, that like I better not make a fuss. And then through the whole movie, he's like grumbling and grouching and saying things, and I can't follow what's happening. And afterwards, we're like standing outside the theater, and he's yelling at me about how much he hates Star Trek. And he's so mad that I talked him into this, and it was awful. And then he left me there. He drove away. And he came back and got me, and I went home with him, and I went outside and I sat in a parking lot nearby in my car, and I thought, how can anybody who hates Star Trek love me? Star Trek and me are the same thing. And that's when I decided to leave him.
That's great. So it wasn't all the other stuff. It was the Star Trek. But that's a great story as far as
through the mind fog.
Yeah. That's a great story as far as being good enough, because that's the stuff, you know, that's the stuff. We let people do these little things to us. We're looking back. It's like, what the frick? You know, like I should have walked out immediately. You know, I shouldn't have even been in the movie, and that should have been the end of it. But we, you know, sometimes, you know, put up with stuff that's way beyond what's healthy.
Yeah.
You know, because of how we feel about ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
We value ourselves so little that we feel grateful to have a little tiny scrap of somebody saying that they care about us, even when they prove by their actions